in this episode of the To That podcast. Let's just move to Fool Us.
It's a little scripted.
All right, so today we are here with the master himself. There he is, Erik Tate. You've probably seen him on FISM, Fool Us. You know, he's from Penguin Magic. You've probably seen him all, but, let's start off talking about yourself. I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, first of all. Let's just run by that.
I'm just some guy.
Fair.
So first, this is the last day of Blackpool.
Yeah, it is.
So I've been demoing on the stand, and Nick wasn't here. So
Yeah.
it's me and Craig Petty, and you know how loud Craig is.
Yeah.
So I had to be. So if my voice is not the usual.
Because you have to be louder than Craig, and
And I love Craig. It was a lot of fun. So my name is Erik Tate. I'm primarily a card magician. I took third prize at FISM in cards in Quebec in 2022. In 2018, I won the IBM Gold Cup Exclusive Contest, and I work for Penguin Magic. I'm one of the producers and on-camera talent there.
Yeah.
So whenever you come to film at Penguin, I'm very often some person who is like running the shoot and then working with you, or I'll take your trick and I'll be the one to teach it.
Yeah.
And I tour and perform regularly in theaters across North America. So I'm pretty frequently at the Magic Castle, the Chicago Magic Lounge. I have a very good relationship with the Mystique Dining Lounge and Keller's Magic and Comedy Club.
Yeah.
So there's and actually I'm about to go to House of Cards. So I'm gonna be home for a couple weeks and then I'm gonna be at House of Cards in Nashville.
Get to relax a little bit and you start all over again.
Yeah. So it's So I'm a performer, a creator, a producer, a filmmaker.
You're him. You're literally him.
I'm the less attractive Nick LaCappa.
Hi, Nick. All right, then I'm gonna ask you a question that everybody's answering in their own way. It's actually taking them about 4 minutes to answer. It's taking quite a while to answer this question. In what kind of family did you grow up in? Like, some people were talking about like how maybe their father was a doctor, their mother was like a nurse, things like that. So how magic got into your life, how magic got in their life, even though their parents were doing another job that has nothing to do with magic, or even like, just go for it.
There's the old joke in magic, I got tricked into it, and I kind of did. I had magic kits when I was a kid, and was sort of vaguely interested in them. My dad got me cups and balls and nickels to dimes. But I wouldn't say that I engaged with the hobby in any in the craft in any sort of real way. But when I was in middle school, I learned to juggle. So it was this husband and wife juggling team that had other kids were in the school, and so they taught people to juggle. And he took me under his wing, and he was like, you can make money at this. And he taught me not just how to juggle, but how to have an act. And I ended up at a gig called the Comedy Barn, which is a vaudeville variety theater in a place called Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And the owner of the place said, "Well, you're a juggler. You probably know magic. Go sell magic in our magic shop." I didn't know any magic, right? Okay. So I went by. It was a pretty standard pitch shop. Svengali decks. The Empire cups and balls, like the red, blue, and yellow. Ball and vase, sponge balls. And there was a guy behind the counter who was a ventriloquist. So I learned my first card move from a ventriloquist. Okay. And I fell in love with a deck of cards at the age of 19, and I've had a deck of cards in my hands ever since. So it wasn't related to my family. My father was always in sales and plastics. So my family has a long history in manufacturing plastics extrusion. So actually, it's one of the things I help out with at Penguin a lot is if we have a product that we're going to make in plastic, very often, because I spent a decade in the plastics industry, I often will help with that. My mom was a teacher, which I think maybe is where I sort of get some of my love of teaching. There's a style of education called Montessori. You can Google it or Wikipedia it. Yeah. But my mom was a Montessori teacher, and so I sort of went through Montessori growing up, and so I've always valued teaching and education very highly, which is why I love what I do at Penguin, because I get to teach every day. And so Dad was in sales, Mom was a teacher, and then there was the performing sort of came in from this sort of outside external, figure who,
friends with now and a colleague. Yeah.
All right, so you went from juggling to being a magician. But other than this, in the magic industry, you've also made quite a few tricks. You made quite a lot of tricks.
I don't think that I'm as prolific a creator as other magicians. Nicholas Lawrence and I are good friends, and that guy has 8 good ideas before he wakes up, and then a million more later. And then a lot of the tricks that I've put out are things that I've been doing for a long time. And most of my releases are like downloads or booklets, right? It's because it's stuff you can do with sort of like borrowed shuffled deck stuff, because that's kind of where I live. My second physical product will be coming out later this year. I don't think a lot of people know this, but I have a version of magnetized cards, where the cards are all over the table. You put your hand down and then it sticks to it. So it's going to be called Gasp, and Penguin's going to be putting it out later this year. So, but it's been 6 years since Ultra Lucky Coin came out. I mean, so yes, I've got stuff out, but I'm not. It takes me a long time to sort of not just come up with something, but really refine it to the point that I'm willing to share it with people.
So let's just move to Fool Us, right?
Sure. Yeah, it was a great time.
Is that the first thing you've done on TV?
I mean, national television, yes. Yeah. I'd been like on the local news, where you're doing a show somewhere and the anchor is like, hey, you're going to do a show. So like so Fool Us was pretty big. And also I think the other thing is, I don't think a lot of people realize I was not a full-time performer when I was on Fool Us. Okay. I was very much a hobbyist. I was sort of in the background doing stuff. I did shows occasionally. And I was a performer. I was mostly a comedy performer, sketch comedy, stand-up comedy, improv. But I wasn't a full-time touring magician. I had just created this trick, and other people thought it was good. And so they said, you should send this to Fool Us. And so I did. I mean, Fool Us put me on the map and got me very full-time into magic. So, yeah.
So on Fool Us, you brought this trick routine called the Monty.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
Now, of course, for people that don't know, why did you call it the Monty?
So the premise of the routine is that I'm going to be playing 3-card Monty with you, and but I'm going to teach you the game, but I'm going to teach you to play it against magicians, and so we're going to play it with invisible cards. So it sort of starts off with a basic Monty idea, and then I deal the cards to the table, and they vanish, and the rest of the routine is I'm playing with nothing, right? So I'm literally moving nothing around. Yeah. And when I ask you where the queen is and you point to it, when I turn the card face up, it becomes visible. And the cards change and go all around. You can see the FISM act on YouTube. But it was originally just called the Invisible 3-Card Monty. I didn't actually start calling it the Monty until it won a FISM prize. So that it was kind of an idea that I'd had. So I watched the movie Shade. You ever seen Shade?
Don't know.
It's a great movie. It's Damien Neiman wrote and directed it, but like R. Paul Wilson is a secondary director on it. Jason England is in the movie, and the opening title sequence is these hands. It's Jason England, R. Paul Wilson. I mean, it's amazing card dudes. Doing these gambling moves, and there's a move in it called the McMillan one-handed turnover switch, and I've always been fascinated by difficult, hard sleight of hand, and I really like the move, and so I wanted to use the move in a routine, and I kind of over the years developed this idea of the invisible 3-card Monty just so that I could do the McMillan one-handed turnover switch, and then there's a great convention in Pigeon Forge called the Winter Carnival of Magic, and it's got a competition, and I was going down to it, and so I sort of thought, well, maybe I'll enter the competition. It'll be a little bit fun, and I basically created the routine, the basic version of the routine, which is the script is almost entirely the same from the day I created it to what it is now, and I created it like the night before the competition, and then I took it in and I won. And this is a competition that like a decade before I'd taken second place in, and one of the judges wrote on my sheet, I really liked what you did, but if you'd done card magic, maybe you would have won. And my second place routine was a spoon bending routine. Like, what does that even mean? Yeah. Like, if you'd done card tricks, like how the spoon bending and card tricks don't
nothing to do with it.
No. So I went away for a decade and became one of the best card magicians in the world. No, I'm not. But that routine is, it grew from there, and just this idea of playing with nothing. And I think what was fun for me was this idea of being able to use all these exotic sleights, because it uses the snap deal. It uses some very strange switches and palms, and it's me having fun and showing all of the sleights that I love that you can't really do in other ways.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a competition routine because it's designed to show off exotic, difficult sleight of hand that magicians are aware of but don't get to see very often. So, which is not the kinds of routines that I perform for my audiences, right? It's a routine designed for magicians, not for regular people.
Yeah.
Regular people do like it, but that's not why it exists.
Yeah. So for some people, maybe they're trying to, make their own routine, make their own trick or whatever it is. Could you bring us through the steps of making a routine?
Yeah. So this is what I do every day for Penguin. Very often, magicians will have an effect, and they will, sell it to us, and so that we can turn it into a product. But often it's just the effect. It's not a routine that you would perform. And so I start backwards. I start with what the end of it is, and then it's a lot easier for me to go to it from there, right? Because if I know where it's going, then I can sort of go work backwards and come up with a good beginning. And then what's very important for me is the premise. So I worked on a project called The Incredible Appearing Nothing by Christophe Fouquet. Great trick. I mean, really fooling, really interesting idea of like just counting in these cards, these holes appear in cards. And so the routine became, I thought, isn't it fun to say, have you ever seen nothing appear? Because it's a hole, right? And so then, I've got a bit of nothing. There's nothing on your shirt, right? Which is like fun wordplay.
Yeah.
So it became, so I knew that at the end there was going to be these 4 holes that would change into black stickers. But then it became, if I'm playing with nothing, how can I have fun with all of this? And I work a lot through play. So I will go out and perform in my regular restaurant gigs, and places that are pretty low stakes, right? Like not my big corporate stuff or like when I'm in a theater, but my restaurant is my lab. It's where if I have the tricks that are my hits, that I know that are going to be great. But if I want to mess around a little bit for 5 minutes, you can, I totally can, and it's fine. And so I will go in knowing all the moves and knowing how the routine works, but with no script, and just kind of see what comes out of my mouth. And so I try and find different areas and different places for me to do that. And so that's where a lot of it comes from. And so as I'm playing with the routine and sort of talking through it, I'll figure out what works. And then when it gets to a place where I'm saying the same thing and getting the same reactions, that's when I stop, sit, write everything down, and then I edit.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah. Then you when they introduced you in Fulos, now let's just take back to when you said that when you went on Fulos, you weren't a full-time magician.
Correct.
So, and you did not fool Penn and Teller. Do you think
I fooled Allison Hannigan, which I think is the more important part of the show.
So do you think the fact that you weren't a full-time magician affected your trick on Fulos?
No, I think that, so I wasn't a full-time magician, but I had a lot of friends in magic. It had been around for a while. People kind of knew who I was. I wasn't, and I still don't think I'm anyone important. I'm just some guy. But I had become known for doing Leonard Green's Snap Deal, and have been a long time, very passionate evangelist for his material. And so I don't know this for certain, but I was pretty sure that either Penn and Teller had heard of the American who does the Snap Deal really well. Yeah. And so it's my belief that when I walked out there, they kind of knew what I was going to do.
So they're focusing more on your moves, you'd say?
I don't even think they were focusing on it. It's just, so you do the Snap Deal, you've either seen it and know what it is as a magician, or you haven't. Yeah. Right? And they clearly have. The only part of the routine I thought might fool them was the switch at the end. But the rest of the routine, I kind of, mean, Leonard Green's story with FISM and being disqualified and going back and winning the whole thing is a legend in Magic. And so when I'm doing a trick that uses very notable sleights, I didn't think I was going to fool them. I was just excited to be on television and go through the experience and be near Penn and Teller and be able to show my magic for them. I was very nervous and very scared, but I didn't really think I was going to fool them. I hoped, but I mean, the moment that I sat down with a deck of cards and made a card vanish, I mean, they knew what was going on. And so it was just more about sharing the routine, sharing the idea, and trying to perform Leonard's sleights to the best of my ability.
Yeah. For the people that don't know, because there are non-magicians watching this podcast.
Oh, hi. Yeah.
What is Fool Us? Because they're probably wondering.
So Fool Us is a television show that features Penn and Teller as judges, and the basic premise is that magicians from around the world come on, they show their best trick, and then Penn and Teller attempt to figure out the method. And if they figure out the method, you go away a loser, right? I mean, anyone who goes on that show is winning to begin with because they say very nice things about you. You know, they talked about how wonderful my sleight of hand was, how brilliant I was as a comedian. I mean, they were very, very nice. But if you fool them, you win and you get a trophy. And they invite you to do your trick on their stage in their show, live show for their audience. But it's a major television show on a major network.
Now, for the magicians watching, what is the process to go on Penn and Teller?
So there's a casting submission email that you send a video to of you performing the trick. And then if a group watches it, and then if they like it, the producers call you up, they talk to you, they see if you're available, and then they send you a contract, and then you sign and get to go on. When you're actually there, you have a couple of rehearsals, and so the director of the show and the camera operators can see the trick. They care a lot about the magic looking good. So for the non-magicians, you do not want to see my trick from the left side because you can see everything. And so they moved cameras to make sure that it was all shot from the correct angle. And then you kind of just go on in front of Penn and Teller and do the trick and their thing, and then they say whether or not you fooled them, and then you're done and you're out. I mean, it's a very it's a television show, and it comes out weekly, but they film the entire season in like 2.5 weeks. So, I mean, it is very quick because as soon as you're off stage, they're bringing the next person on, and then that's it. Yeah.
All right. Then, before you do the trick on Penn and Teller, in case you don't know, they put a little introduction.
Yes.
And you said that, of course, the trick you've done was pretty, it was a comedy trick, comedy routine.
It's not, it is, but it's not as like, it's not like,
you sneaked in a little bit of, jokes and like stuff.
Yeah.
Now, at the start of the episode, you said that bringing comedy into magic, it's not very easy.
Yes.
How did you find your way of fitting it in?
I mean, that's an interesting question. I am a stand-up comic and have performed as a stand-up comedian for years. My degree is in comedy writing and performance.
Okay. So you had experience before this, of course, in comedy.
Yeah. So I have an album on iTunes. If you really want to look it up, it's called Nerd is the New Black. But so you can hear me telling just weird jokes. So I've done comedy for years, and I treat comedy as a craft, because it is a craft. I mean, anyone can get a laugh, but to be able to sort of realistically determine, how to make somebody laugh is a challenging and difficult thing. It is as much of a science as it is an art. And there's actually a quote that I said that I think the way the edit came out, I didn't get to attribute the quote because it's a David Acker quote, the great comedy magician from Canada, which is magic and comedy don't go well together because it's impossible to have a moment of astonishment while laughing. You can't go aha while you go ha ha. And so magic, if you do a trick and you tell a joke, the joke will step on the moment of astonishment. But if you do a joke if you do a miracle while you're trying to tell a joke, the miracle will step on the laugh. So really what you're trying to do is figure out where you can get the laughs and let the comedy live, and where you can do the magic and let the magic live, and balance doing those two things back to back, and alternating when you do them. And so for me, it's more about making sure the script is funny and making sure the routine is funny until the moment that I'm going to do the miracle. And when I'm going to do the miracle, I've got to stop. I've got to let the miracle breathe. And when the moment of astonishment is over, that's when I go back in and look for the laughs.
Yeah.
And sometimes if the miracle is too strong, I will use the laugh to break the tension so that they'll sort of come back to earth for a moment, and then we can continue on. I hope some of that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, do you have a specific time on Penn and Teller? Like, do you have a time that you can't go over? Like, do you have
I mean, so it's Penn and Teller is not a competition like FISM, whereas like FISM is I think I can't remember the rules exactly, but it's like a 10-minute bare stage to bare stage competition. If you go 1 second over, you're disqualified. Okay. Penn and Teller is like a television show. Like, yeah, they want you to stick to whatever it is. I mean, like, you're submitting a script, the producers are approving it. This is not like a timed competition because they're making a television show, so they want to know everything that's going to go on. So you can't just like, I couldn't just like do a different trick if I wanted, right? Yeah. So it's a little scripted, but so yeah, they didn't give me a time limit, but like we agreed ahead of time everything I would say, everything I would do, because if you deviate from that, then the cameras might not pick it up correctly.
Then 5 years later, I'm pretty sure you brought it to FISM.
Yes, yeah.
Now, for people that don't know, could you explain to them what FISM is?
So FISM is it's an umbrella organization for all of the other magic societies and clubs out there, and it stands for Fédération Internationale Société de Magie. And it basically what it exists for is to host the World Championships of Magic. A lot of people call it the Olympics of Magic, but it is officially the World Championships of Magic, and it happens every 3 years, and it moves from country to country. Different countries host. And it's 150 competitors from around the world come to show their best magic. And at the end of it, they crown the champions and the award winners. And I was very lucky to be able to represent the International Brotherhood of Magicians, the IBM, which I've been a long-time member, and I feel has done a lot for my career. The IBM's treated me very well. And I was very lucky to represent North America. While I'm an American competitor, I qualified for FISM North America, so I consider it Team North America. There was a good number of us on the team, and I was very fortunate to come away with a prize in card magic. I took 3rd place in card magic.
All right, and now over there you brought the same routine you brought the Penn and Teller.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like the same routine from the outside, but on the inside, it's very different. I ended up completely re-choreographing the routine with new moves. If you watch it on Penn and Teller, you see my hands go below the table. If you watch it at FISM, my hands never go below the table. There's a lot of fundamental changes to the way I did it, which made it more fooling. It was smoother. There were some new changes. There's a new ending. And on Fool Us, I wasn't able to do the ace production that I do at the very beginning, where a brand new deck of cards is opened, somebody shuffles it, and it gets scrambled all over the table. Yeah. And then with just a few shuffles, I produce the 4 aces from a shuffled deck. I mean, it's pretty hardcore card magic.
So that leads to my next question, which was, 5 years later, you brought it. If you made it better, and how did you, go by the steps of making it better? What did you add? Maybe what did you, make better? That kind of thing.
So the version that existed on Fool Us and the version I did at FISM were different in the sense that we all grow as magicians as we learn more. And so I was able to take a lot of the things that I had learned since it was originally created, and I had become a better card magician, and applied it to that. I had more experience, and then I was able to, I had a team that I worked with. Nick Lacapo was very instrumental in looking at the routine from the outside and saying, hey, you should change this, you should change this. John Armstrong was extremely helpful in helping me fix sort of small, subtle routine things. Jason England and R. Paul Wilson helped me with the sleights. I have a wonderful tailor named Sofiano who looked at the stage and looked at everything and chose the clothes for me. The composer who composed the music really helped. There was a lighting designer. When I decided to go for FISM, I didn't do it alone because people don't win FISM, teams win FISM. And I had a really spectacular group of people around me who not only encouraged me and kept my spirits up as I went through this long process, but really provided good input. And that's one of the wonderful things about Magic, is being able to work collaboratively with people. Yeah. So yeah, I'm the face and I'm the big shoulders that at the end of the day, I have to execute the sleights and do everything, but it was a lot of people who helped. I couldn't have done it without Michael Feldman, Carissa Hendricks, Kate Osborne, Nicola Capo, Brent Braun, Nicholas Lawrence, Seth Race, Mandy Hartley. There is a long, Nikki Winkleman. There's a long list of people who were very, very helpful in getting it to where it was. Juliana Chen gave me some incredibly valuable advice that made it into there. Like having a FISM champion like Juliana Chen look at the act and say, you should change this, even though Juliana's not associated with close-up card magic. She's associated with stage magic, but she knows competition and she knows good magic and she's very good at what she does. And I grew up looking up to her and respecting her, it was very humbling to have her give me the advice she did, and it helped. That's not like the specific answers, but the answer is I went to very smart people and got some very good advice.
Now, first of all, how long do you have for FISM, talking about time, and how did you find it? If you found it difficult to stay in the timeline, if maybe it would have been better if it went over the 10-minute timer, how was it true?
So the FISM is what's called a bare stage to bare stage competition. When I was in high school, I used to do a lot of competitive acting, and so it was sort of used to artificial situations like this. You have 10 minutes, and there is a light system that's it goes green, yellow, red, and if you go to red, if you go 1 second over, you're disqualified. There's just no prize at all, no matter how good the trick is.
What do you think about that rule? Is it too strict or is it right?
It's absolutely right. So the other thing you have to understand is, people call FISM the Olympics of Magic. It's not. Because the Olympics is an athletic competition where there is a defined standard. If I throw the javelin the farthest, I get the gold medal. FISM's an art competition. Yeah. Now, they do everything they can, and I say that I'm not speaking on behalf of FISM at all in any way, shape, or form, even though I do represent the IBM's interest at FISM North America. But this is my opinion, and they do a great job in creating a judging rubric and explaining rules and standards. But at the end of the day, it's an art competition, and it's not the Olympics. It's New York Fashion Week. When you see a fashion show and the outfits are really crazy and wild, and you're like, no one would ever wear that. That's clothing designers showing off for each other and pushing the boundaries of their art. And that is what FISM is. It's an artificial situation. Most FISM acts are not designed for lay audiences. They're designed for magicians. And it's magic for magicians. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's amazing. I saw some of the most amazing magic in my entire life at FISM. But the things I'm going to do for magicians are very different than the things I'm going to do for my lay audiences. And I will perform the Monty for lay audiences, but they don't see it the same way a magic audience does. Yeah. And it's the same, I think, with a lot of FISM acts.
Now that you won the FISM, do you think it changed anything in your life?
Oh, yeah. It opened so many doors. There's so many people who I never would have gotten to meet if it weren't for FISM. My corporate paychecks are much larger. I don't have to negotiate with theaters. I go, look, I have a FISM trophy. And they go, oh, okay. People come up to me constantly and congratulate me. It's a little overwhelming at times, and it's very surreal to have that, because I never thought that I would compete at FISM, let alone be a FISM winner. I kind of got talked into it by other people. Because in my head, it was, FISM's for legends. FISM's for those people over there who are amazing and awesome. And I still don't think of myself that way. I'm just a guy who likes shuffling cards. And so, I got sort of asked and cajoled by people. They were like, that act should really go to FISM. I think it'd be really, really good there. It's a good FISM act. And it took me a long time to come around to the idea of, doing it. And when I competed, I didn't think I was going to win. My thought process was, I want to participate. It's amazing to be able to participate and perform alongside the best magicians in the world, and to be invited by my country and my magic organization to represent their interests was a huge honor. And I genuinely thought at the end of the day, some 14-year-old Dutch kid that no one's ever heard of is going to win everything, because that's what these kinds of things are about, right? Yeah. And by the way, Gleb Saro, this 15-year-old from Lithuania, did this amazing act and won the innovation award because it was so incredible, right? So what I said kind of did happen. He just turned out to be not Dutch. He was from Belarus, I think. But so receiving the prize was a big surprise, and a very deep honor, and I take it very seriously. And as a result of that, the other thing that I do is when I meet people, we have never met before.
No, yeah.
And you said, hey, would you please be on the podcast? Absolutely. I have time for everyone. And I know what it's like when I'm very shy. And when I used to go to magic conventions, I would be kind of watching people sitting with David Williamson or sitting with John Armstrong or sitting with Juan Tamarez or sitting with Babel. And it blows me away every day that I can call R. Paul Wilson, that I can go to lunch with Jason England. It still hasn't sunk in that I get to be not just friends with these people, but share secrets with them and sit with them. And so as a result, whenever anyone comes up to me and says, I loved your FISM act, thank you so much for everything you do for the magic community, I have all day for you. I will talk to you in the pub. You don't have to buy me a drink. You don't have to buy my tricks. You don't have to do anything, but I will teach you magic. I will show you tricks. Yeah. It's my pleasure to do that, because I would not be where I am now, if it weren't for all of the really wonderful, kind people. And the very least I can do is give my time to anyone who shares love of magic. And I think that's the biggest thing that's changed, is that people know who I am now, and I want to be very kind to these people.
Now, talking about Foulos, FISM, would you do this experience again? Same with FISM and Foulos, and which one was your favorite to do between the two?
So I would do Foulos again in a heartbeat. That was just tremendous fun. The people at Foulos are really great. They want the magic to look good. They're very helpful. It's great. It's so much fun. I would do Foulos again in a heartbeat. I've submitted stuff to Foulos, and I hope to be back on the show. Would I do FISM again? Never say never, but probably not. Competition at that level is expensive and stressful and difficult. And I'm glad I went through the experience, but I'm not entirely certain. I need to make sure that I have a good enough idea. Yeah. I don't think I have any FISM-worthy ideas at the moment. Maybe I will one day. There is one more competition that I want to do. There is one more award I would like to go after, and one more competitive award. And I'm not really talking about what it is, because I don't want to put that out there. Course, yeah. But also, it's there's no real time limit on it, right? I'm kind of working towards it, but I've kind of had my time in the sun, and I'm ready to let other people do that. Now, I am the FISM rep for IBM, and I'm working with Mark D'Souza on a working group to benefit North American magicians, to help them on the competition on the international stage. I'm the first American in 20 years to win a prize in card magic, and I'm the fourth to do it ever. And I believe that Americans are some of the best card magicians in the world. We just don't do well in international competition. And I should not be a fluke. I should be the beginning of a long, proud tradition of award-winning card magicians from America. And so what I am doing now is talking to people who are interested in competing and walking them through the process to not only qualify, but do well at FISM. And so I'm talking to dozens of people and encouraging them to compete and saying, this was my experience, and this is what I did to be successful. And if you start earlier, you could be more successful than me.
Yeah. Now, of course, we're at the Blackpool Magic Convention, in case you don't know.
Yes.
And I went through the stands quite a lot. You told me you went today. You just did
I had about a half hour, 45 minutes to go around, but I was on the Penguin stand, as you can hear in my voice, all day.
So I went around and I've seen that there's a lot of tech, you know.
Yes.
Tech has gone into Magic, you know, a lot in the recent 3 years. Maybe after COVID, tech got introduced and it's been, you know, they've been using it for a lot. Do you think maybe in 10 years you see tech taking over everything, you know, maybe over card tricks, coin tricks, or where do you see Magic in 10 years right now?
I have a love-hate, not a love-hate. I have a love and a fascination of tech, not just tech in general, but not just tech and magic, but tech in general. If you listen to my podcast, the Penguin Magic Podcast, plug, it is very often that I talk about BattleBots and robot combat. I love the robot combat sport. I'm actively building my own combat robot. I design 3D things in 3D and CAD and then 3D print them. I build electronics. I can solder. I can program. I love technology. I built my own computer. The FISM trophy lives inside of my gaming computer.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
There's a photo of it on Instagram. It is.
Yeah, I'll put it there on the screen now.
It is big and full of lights and way overbuilt and stupid, and I love it. So I love tech, and I use tech in my show. I have made no secret of the fact that as a magician, I use Illuminati Magic's toys.
Yeah.
You know, I use their dice, I use their notifier, and I've got more of them, and I'm adding it to the show. That being said, my show is also largely hardcore technical sleight of hand because as incredible as Illuminati's products are, I trust my hands more than any electronic gizmo. Yeah. I think what is interesting is not the tech that is coming out, it is how it is being applied. There are things that you can do in a low-tech way that tech makes very... So Dragon Scale from Penguin Magic, I've been demoing that all week. Sorry to plug our product on your show, but it's pertinent to your question. Dragon Scale is a high performance scale that is accurate to within one playing card, and it understands mnemonica, and it can send the information from this memorized deck to a peak device that you can then see. So if somebody cuts off a packet, it can tell you what card they cut to, how many cards they have in that packet, how many cards are red and black, how many clubs, hearts, diamonds, spades are in there, how many court cards are in there, if you add up all the pips. I mean, it's a lot of information, right? But what is interesting is not that it can do that. It's what I can do with it, right? Because I can take it and I can do a pseudo, like, I can do like a second sight routine or like a remote viewing, or I could apparently memorize the deck and say, cut the deck, and now just tell me the card at the face, and now I can do a Rain Man thing where I'm spitting out lots of information. Yeah. Okay, because the tech exists doesn't matter. What you do with the tech is what matters.
Okay. Yeah. Right,
and so the fact that I could roll a die and secretly know the number on top is, who cares, right? How I reveal that information is emotional and impactful to my audience, and that's what's important. So I just think that we're going to see more sensors, devices, ways of getting secret information or moving things in crazy ways, or where... and to be able to, so in mentalism, electronics can provide you with information that you can then reveal. The other side of it is manufacturing techniques are getting more refined and more interesting, and as a result, you can make more complex objects for less money, and so you'll be able to see devices for magicians that would have been thousands of dollars to produce, a decade ago. Yeah. could be produced for a couple of dollars, tomorrow, in complex shapes and interesting materials. And so it's just going to give us new tools, because at the end of the day, what is important is the way we present the magic, not the method to do it.
Yeah, see. So right now, I see you have a deck of cards right there. So I'm going to ask you a question that I've asked a lot of people, which is, if somebody comes up to you and says, Eric, I've seen you on FISM, I've seen you on Foolish, could you show me a trick? What's that one card trick you would show them if you had cards in your pocket?
I'll show it to you right now, actually. These microphones are going to pick up some nice, crispy card work here. So go ahead and shuffle these cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And here's what we'll do. I'll just... all right. Do you play poker?
Nope, I do not.
You don't. Do you play blackjack or anything like that?
Nope.
But do you know the games?
Yeah, I know them, but I don't know the rules. For example.
Do you know the most powerful cards in blackjack?
The aces.
Aces, yeah. The ace is the most powerful cards because they could equal 1 or 11, right? So if somebody could take a deck of cards that somebody else had shuffled and then follow casino procedure, which is riffle, riffle, strip, cut like this, and then an additional riffle, and then finish it off with a straight cut, so like that, and they could get an ace.
Okay.
That would be good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could get a second ace, that
Even
would
better.
be amazing, right? Like a third ace, you could win basically any blackjack game you wanted, right? But the fourth ace, to get the fourth ace to the top of the deck after somebody had shuffled and you maintained eye contact and running dialogue, there's only a handful of people in the world who can do that, and you're talking to one of them.
Wow.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing.
This is one of my favorite things to do. I like it. It's very showy offy. It's difficult, but fun and easy for me. And also, it was featured in my FISM act. So when people are like, "What did you do to win FISM?" Right? Then I can show them this, and people go, "Oh, okay." Like, it's not the main routine, but it's a small part of it, and it's one of my favorite things to do.
I'm gonna go down to some of the last questions.
Yeah.
First question is, to some of the young people watching, maybe, like magicians, of course, what would your advice be?
Don't let anyone dictate your relationship with magic. The magic that you do, as long as it's not hurting anyone else and it's not hurting yourself and you're having fun, keep doing it. There's a lot of people who will say things like, "Oh, social media magic isn't real magic." Well, are you having fun with it? Then do it. Magic is a great job. Magic is a great art. Magic is a great hobby. But the most important thing is that you're having fun with it, right? I mean, if I wasn't having fun as a magician, I would not be performing today.
Yeah.
If I didn't, we're here at the Blackpool Magic Convention. Yeah. I stood on my feet in a cold, drafty hallway for 9 hours straight without a break for lunch or bathrooms, doing magic tricks over and over and over again. Now, it's work and it's hard. My body is broken. My voice is shot. I'm exhausted. But do you think I would do that if I wasn't having fun?
Of course not.
No. And so, your relationship with magic is your relationship with magic. So if someone says, "Well, that's not the way Vernon would have done it," or that, you shouldn't do that, are they right? It doesn't. Maybe not. I have a lot of opinions about magic myself, and I'll tell you that's a good trick or that's a bad trick. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
But my relationship with magic, you have nothing to do with. We were talking about some of the stuff we saw at Blackpool, right? Like that dumb little meat finger bone thing where the guy takes his thumb off and it's there. Is that a great magic trick? I mean, it's not linking card.
It's new.
But I love it.
Yeah.
It's so funny. The most important thing is to have fun with magic. And as long as you are having fun and you are enjoying what you do, don't worry about being famous. Don't worry about being a creator. Don't worry about winning a prize or being on television. Have fun with your magic. Because you know how I got on television? You know how I won prizes? Do you want to know how I, work at Penguin? You want to know how I put out great tricks and have great shows? I have fun with my magic. And I don't let anybody tell me how to have fun.
Yeah. So what age did you get into Magic exactly?
Oh, like 19. I was pretty late in the game.
Okay, so if you could talk to your 19-year-old self right now,
Mm-hmm.
what's the number one advice you'd give yourself?
Don't get a credit card and move to Los Angeles. Start saving earlier. Get a retirement account. Figure out what a 401k is and max it out. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good answer.
Do you want like the magic or the performing answer or something?
If that's what you give yourself, that's it.
Yeah, it's still start saving earlier.
What about the magic one?
Never stop reading.
Fair.
Yeah, I think that there's I love books. I love magic books, but I just love books.
Yeah.
I have a huge library at home, and I love going to libraries, and I love going to bookshops. And sometimes I get distracted and forget how much I love reading. And I'm watching videos, I'm making videos, and just sometimes you just need to spend time in a good book. Yeah. I've been doing these projects for Penguin lately that are like these, videos where I teach like one trick on YouTube and then come to Penguin and actually see the good stuff. And I'm finding all this stuff in very old public domain books. And it's just like, I'm going back to Encyclopedia of Card Tricks and Royal Road and Expert Card Technique. This stuff is basically public information. And it's just so much fun to pick that book up. So just don't stop reading. That's the thing,
Yeah, all right, well, that is it. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next episode of the podcast. This is it. See you next time. In the next episode of Tada Podcast. Who can?
McCon.